This is the story of how the duck and I were almost too late to see the beautiful autumn colors in Kyoto, the former capital city of Japan. Really, that's what its kanji mean. Let's dive right in. Our first adventure led us west to Arashiyama, which was freezing in early December. The high altitude with those strong icy winds made 2 degrees Celsius feel like -10. First stop, Katsura River, where we got a nice view of the mountains behind Togetsukyo, the moon crossing bridge. And, of course, a wedding shoot, and lots of birds and people. Then we made our way to the gardens of Tenryuji, a temple built in 1339, but rebuilt several times after that. The garden, however, is still more or less the way it used to be. The duck loved the pond, with all those rocks, pine trees, and the beautiful Arashiyama mountain backdrop. Fortunately, we got to see plenty of leftovers from the popular autumn leaf season all over the temple gardens. That made us think about how colorful everything must have been during the peak season, and how incredibly crowded. I think the duck and I prefer this less colorful and less touristy version. Next, we made a mini stop at the famous bamboo groves right outside the temple and were hit by a wave of fellow tourists, even outside the peak season. Trying to warm up our icy wings and hands, we made a short udon stop. But we were still freezing when we arrived at my favorite station, the Keifuku Arashiyama station, where we took the small Keifuku London tram with amazing first row standing spots back closer to Kyoto, where we would spend almost all day exploring some of the city's Higashiyama district around its eastern mountains, starting off on the Philosopher's Path. The Philosopher's Path is called that way because Nishida Kitaro, a famous Japanese philosopher, would meditate on his daily walk on this pretty path connecting Ginkakuji with the area around Nanzenji on his way to Kyoto University. Ginkakuji, the Silver Pavilion, reportedly got its name from the reflection of the moonlight of the dark building that gave it a silver touch. We heard a tour guide explain. Why pay for a tour if we can just listen in on other visitors' tours? Am I right? The Zen temple was built in the 1480s, and it has this amazing dry sand garden, fittingly called the Sea of Silver Sand, featuring this infamous cone, the moon viewing platform. Have I mentioned how beautiful the Ginkakuji Moss Garden is? It's like straight out of a Ghibli movie, in fall. Next, we observed the leaves at Nanzenji, a Zen Buddhist temple with a wonderful view, if you manage to climb up Sanmon Gate without any wet accidents at the site of the freakishly steep stairs. But it's worth every drop of cold sweat. Just look! The temple complex is also famous for its Meiji period aqueduct that, of course, we only took a photo of. Speaking of temples, we also had the pleasure of walking down Templetown Street, or as everybody calls it, Teramachidori. This canopied shopping street is one of the busiest in Kyoto, and it sports many sights. such as this shrine, amidst hundreds of shoppers. Nishiki Tenmangu hosts a pretty cool mechanical fortune teller that we had our lovely travel companions try out right away. There's a natural spring right at the shrine, with water so clean and refreshing that, apparently, locals come in and bottle some to take home. Just across the river, we explored Gion, Kyoto's infamous geisha, or as the locals call it, without my bad accent, Geiko district. Did you know that way back you had to pay taxes according to the size of your house's entrance? That's why the thrifty Kyotoites built their houses narrow but deep and high. After admiring Shirakawa Dori, we directed our admiration toward Yasaka Shrine, with its many lanterns advertising the Gion Festival sponsors and its big gate leading straight to the streets. But what is one big gate if you can have thousands? That was more or less our thought process before we decided to tackle Fushimi Inari Taisha, with its many trails leading up Inari Mountain, lined with tori after tori. Those gates were a constant reminder that we were indeed at a Shinto shrine. Or shall I say, many, many shrines. After having climbed far too many stairs all the way to the top of the mountain, we decided to leave the main path and, as a reward, discovered this seemingly abandoned shrine. The foxes that you can see throughout the shrine network, because they're thought to be Inari's, the Shinto god of rice's messengers, looked pretty wise and reminded us of a scene right out of Spirited Away. Speaking of spirits, just a train journey away is Uji, the town where the most beautiful matcha lives, and home of Byodoin, a temple built in 998, and its many Bosatsu statues. Those Buddhist saints on clouds are said to lead believers who have just passed to enlightenment. Apart from the very cool museum that displayed all those awesome artifacts, we could also have a look at the famous 10-yen coin Phoenix Hall, with its infamous phoenix statues, and that pretty pond that seems to be very popular among the inhabitants of the animal kingdom. I'm a bit surprised the duck didn't go for a nice little swim though. Maybe the pretty sunset that we got to admire from Kiyomizu-dera was on the duck's mind. This Buddhist temple is probably best known for its main hall, with the infamous wooden stage giving you a breathtaking view of Kyoto's cityscape. But since the hall is under construction at the moment, we decided to have our breath taken away by the beautiful golden light of the setting sun bouncing off the gates instead. And the sun did not disappoint. Those seem to be the scenes that Doug has been daydreaming about recently. Oh, and of course, all the food and lights in Osaka.